Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Shannon Smith. I was an educator for 20 years and really excited to work with all of you today and just understanding a little bit more. This is a Q&A session about Harmony SEL. But to get started, just to kind of give you guys an overview of the program, it's really broken down into two components. So we have our lessons and activities, and then we have our everyday practices. To begin, I'd like to explore our everyday practices. And as you can see here, all of our materials are located on a portal. So you guys can access these materials at no cost. And it's really incredible. You can use them pre-K through 6, but some of the everyday practices have been used all the way through 12th grade. So I have someone who's going to help me navigate here. We're going to start off looking at our everyday practices. And our everyday practices are really about embedding SEL throughout the day. So this is something that we're using these natural connections that the kids are making, opportunities for them to collaborate, and we're bringing that forth through some of the activities that we do. So in starting off, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to establish harmony goals. Harmony goals. How do we get started with harmony goals? Well, goals are very different than rules. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion about the difference between I need to wear, a badge when I'm going to the restroom, or I need to do X, Y, or Z in order to go to recess, to shifting that to a goal. How do we treat each other? How do we interact with one another? And really giving the kids the agency and the voice to be able to come up with those on their own so they really feel socially responsible. And I see this in your PE classes, right? Giving them those opportunities. So even as a community, that organic community is really coming up with 3 to 5 goals on how to treat and interact with one another. Right here you can see on the portal, we're showing kind of the overview of our everyday practices. And if you go down here, you can click on the harmony goals. I'm just going to kind of go through the steps of that.
Plus harmony goals?
Yes. So when we're looking at harmony goals, one thing that we want to make really clear is that those goals are going to be present and visible throughout the class and throughout the time that we're having our meetup or everyday practice. And so we begin by discussing what the difference is between a goal and a rule and why it's important for us to come up with those together. And then as a classroom, we're synthesizing 3 to 5 of those goals and coming up with them together. And it's a really democratic process, right? The kids are all part of it. And I sat there, I'm 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teachers, and my kids loved it. We'd sit in a circle. I had to raise my hand. I waited my turn. We made sure that everybody had a voice as we created these together. After they're synthesized and we all come up with them, then the class as a whole will record and sign those goals. So those will be something that we come to. And I don't know how many times in my teaching career where I proudly at the beginning of the year came up with my classroom Bill of Rights, right? Or, I had a lot of creative names. And by October, November, they're gathering dust in the corner. These are going to be something that we come to and we revisit all the time because it's something that's really important to us and something as a community we prioritize. And so, in the end, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to look at those, we're going to monitor those goals and revise them if necessary. So they are ever changing and they can be fluid at times. And I bring this up, and I know this is only part of one of our everyday practices, but goal setting is an integral part of our programs as well. So along with those classroom goals, with our 3rd edition, we've actually just introduced personal goals. And so allowing students to not only think about the community as a whole, but looking inside. And giving them the agency and the ability to really look within themselves and find, what are some intentions I want to set for myself? And how do I review those on a regular basis? And some days I am going to thrive. And I am going to just, feel wonderful about where I'm at. And there's other days where I'm going to feel like, I wasn't there today. But really taking away the shame out of that and allowing them the opportunity to really feel inside, get in touch with their emotions. I think it helps a lot with self-regulation too, by giving them those opportunities. So just kind of an overview of our goals, in a nutshell. But with that, we use those goals to create an everyday practice called a meetup. And this is not something that's going to take 45 minutes. We're looking at 10 to 15 minutes a day, where students really have the opportunity to sit together as a classroom community. And we begin that meetup by just greeting each other. I have 4 kids of my own, and I laugh at times when I'm getting them off to school, and they're all getting older now, but it's like, have I signed your homework, right? You don't have socks, go get socks on, right? You've got all of this stuff going on, and when do I just get to look at them and say, hi, Claire, hi, Grace, I see you, and so this really gives an opportunity for kids to take the time to be present with one another, right? Teaching them that that's really important and that they're a really valued member of our community. And then moving into the second component, which kids love, share, right? So 1 to 2 students have the opportunity to really sit down and provide the class a little glimpse of their life, something going on with them. And we limit it to 1 to 2 because it probably would last about an hour and a half, if not. And it also encourages the other students to really engage and listen, actively listen, and ask them questions and get to know them, on a deeper level. So, as simple as a share is, it's a really important component, as they're growing as these social beings. So then we move into the meat and potatoes of our meetup, which is the check-in. And this is the opportunity to go back and revisit the goals that we've established as a community. And I always start, right, with there's so many celebrations every single day. You're seeing that Johnny has gotten up when he sees that Nellie needs a pencil, he's up and he's getting a pencil for her. So that's an opportunity for us to look at these real life situations, these things that are happening organically. And every time I talk about it, I get chills. Because giving these real life situations and allowing these students to, celebrate one another and identify, what, I am doing something that's really meaningful. I'm doing something that's creating deeper connections by helping one another. And so, the check-in is the celebrations, and then it's also an opportunity for them to be empowered as problem solvers. And I say that because I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and they have a very strong sense of justice, right? And everything, and there are problems, and those problems can go on for a while. So really allowing them the opportunity to air those, what are some areas maybe where we're not meeting our goals, but then moving it into a really, really deep conversation where we are all solution finders. And so giving them the tools and the skills to say, okay, so it looks like the bathroom is a mess and nobody is throwing the towels in the garbage. And these are very simple little things, right? But as a community, what goal maybe can we grow in, and they're looking at that and they're identifying it, and then moving that into an opportunity for them to come up with other solutions, and without us realizing it, they're using these skill sets and they're helping, and encouraging a real growth mindset, like, oh, this isn't over, it's not as if the bathroom's closed. How do we improve this process and how do we grow, right? And then end with my favorite, celebration, right? Celebrate our community, create that climate and culture. And so we have community builders, and I'm gonna share those resources with you. They're on our portal. Where the quick connection cards are. We have community builders where the students are all going to be interacting together in unison, doing something fun to celebrate. And I know it sounds like this would be long, but really we're looking at 10 to 15 minutes a day. And it's an opportunity for us to really come together as a community and check in. And then thank you for showing these resources. Along with that, we have some incredible resources, especially with the launch of our 3rd edition. So we have printer-friendly quick connection cards, if you need to use those, so the conversation starters, collaborations, and community builders. Mindful minutes, so when those kids are setting those personal goals, when they're checking in on those personal goals during meetup, we can also take that opportunity for them just to take a mindful minute. So we provided several different mindful minute activities for them to engage in. And some days it might just start with that. Let's just start with a mindful minute. Let's ground ourselves, right? And so all of these resources, again, are available in our portal and accessible. Just want to make sure I saw, okay, I want to share one more thing because I think the beginning of a school year and setting the tone is so important. So one of the additions from our 3rd edition is we have building communities for the first 10 days of Harmony SEL. And it's broken down into small baby steps. It's not like it's, an hour a day that I'm spending on this, but breaking it down to really allow them to understand these different everyday practices of meetup. What does it mean to set goals? And then I'm going to actually piggyback on that and begin to talk about Buddy Up, because Buddy Up is the other everyday practice, which is, I think, a teacher and student favorite. It really allows for relationship building to occur in an organic way. And so the idea around Buddy Up, and I'm thinking about you, PE teacher right now, it's an opportunity for these students to connect with one another who may not normally hang out together. I don't know about you, but I remember I was a creature of habit in school, right? And there were times that I was like, okay, sit in my same seat, sitting around my same friends, right? Having discussions, and it's easy for me to connect on that level. And you want that to happen, but you also want them to diversify, right? You want them to be inclusive of everybody in the classroom and learn about all of their classmates. And so with Buddy Up, we're really called to basically pair each child with every other child in that classroom by the end of the year. And those buddy pairs are going to work together for 1 to 2 weeks. And we have conversation starters and collaborations for them really to get to know each other on a deeper level. And so in doing that, your responsibility as the educator is really to organize some sort of system where you know that all of those students are going to be paired eventually throughout the year. Choosing, based on the time that you have, Buddy Up is maybe 2 to 10 minutes based on what you have, right? So you can use it as a brain break, a great way to begin a class. But those buddy pairs are going to get together and engage in conversation. This is a great resource that we have on our portal, the Buddy Up Grid. So this is a way for you guys, as a teacher tool for you to use as you guys are using those buddy pairs. And then actually showing here, we've got our buddy board. So, having it visible for the students. One thing I will say about Buddy Up, because I ran into this my first year I did Buddy Up, is I was so proud of myself. I was really excited. I have my Buddy Up board showing and I'm ready to go and the kids are walking in and I'm so excited. And I'm not kidding, it was like the second person walks in and she's like, oh, I'm with Trent. Oh, great, right? And then she turns around and starts talking to her friend and I'm like, oh, I missed a step. So I say that with all humility, I mean it. I learned a lot from that experience because what I recognized was it's really important for us before we even start Buddy Up to talk about what it means to be a buddy, and them really being open to, sharing and being part of a buddy group, no matter who that person is. And it allows. It's a lot harder to be mean to your buddy on the playground when you've just been vulnerable with each other and talked about things that are meaningful to you, right? And so these little natural ways for them to make these connections can make a huge impact in a classroom community. So with the Buddy Up, if you wouldn't mind showing the quick connection card so they can see some examples, I'd love for you guys to take a second to Buddy Up too. I will say, as you guys are beginning Buddy Up, making sure that, one, as I said that, one thing I learned was when I began Buddy Up, making sure that they're paired with someone initially that they're feeling comfortable with. And there may be some students in your class that are more introverted, and that's very hard for them. So I would never force it on anyone, right? So including those children, what I would do is I usually am a Buddy Up pair with one of the students because it's a great way for me to get to know them. I would just have them come and observe with me until they felt comfortable to do it on their own. So this is okay. This is a great resource though. This is showing the PDF version. So if some of you guys need to print this out, let's say the portal's not accessible and you really want to use some of these conversation starters or collaborations, these are community builders. So these are great, but you can look here at what time is it. Have 12 students with number cards stand in a circle with one student. That student has the ends of a short string and long string. Call an hour student to take the long string and minute student to take the short string. And stand next to the numbers in the circle. Have students guess the time shown, then students can call the other times to show on the clock. So fun, interactive, right? But what sort of skills, and I'd love to hear from you guys, what sort of skills do you think that the students are learning as they're doing this activity, as they're using the string and they're trying to? Teamwork, yeah. Right? They're collaborating. They may be having discussions. It's fun to do. I'm not saying that. You're getting up and you're moving and it's physical, but it's like, and there may be kids that are like, no, it's 12 o'clock. No, it's 12:15, right? Yeah. And there may be even some disagreements, but giving them the opportunity to find these organic times to problem solve together, to celebrate together when they're right and they figured it out, right? But you can access all of these resources on our portal. Again, in looking at our QC cards that I keep bragging about, that you guys are actually going to get at the end of this presentation if you'd like, we have upper grade and lower grades. So we have conversation starters for kids pre-K through second. And then we also have those quick connection cards available for the upper grades. So third, we have it really third through sixth, but there are several districts that actually use it even through high school. And I've even heard, a lot of faculty teams that will use it, as part of their team meetings to really help build community. So, I know this is a Q&A, and I know I'm talking a lot, and I want you guys to be able to ask the questions, but wanted to provide you just a brief overview of the everyday practices. Along with the everyday practices, just one more thing I want to show is just the lessons and activities. So we have these everyday practices which are ever important, and probably, from what we've heard, the easiest to implement in the classroom because they don't take a whole lot of time, right? They're really effective, they're organic. And it not only provides the teachers some time, but the students the ability to really socialize. But we also have explicit SEL instruction, and that comes from our lessons and activities.
Do you want to look at second edition or third edition?
Third edition. So in looking at, we are just updating. So we have 2 editions right now of our curriculum. Castle has updated their competencies, and so as a result, we made sure that we included everything in that 3rd edition. So you can see here, you can access all of our units, based on the grade level that they're in. All of them are by grade level. So we have a pre-K curriculum, a kindergarten, all the way up through 6th grade. You'll notice in those stories, in those lessons, Z. And I'm sure if you guys look around this playground, you're going to see Z everywhere, right? But these stories are a powerful way for the students to really understand different concepts like diversity and inclusion, right? What does it mean to have a sense of belonging, right? And so giving these stories provides the framework for a discussion. So as educators, you're going to see, we're not just reading the story, there's going to be discussion prior to the story. We're going to read that story, and then we're going to reflect, right? And then along with that, there's going to be interactive activities for them to utilize in those lessons. So the kids are going to be able to work together. And you'll find a lot of those interactive games and activities that are on the tables that you can explore after this. Another thing I think an important component is the parent connection. There's a homeschool connection. We are one community, right? And all of us are teaching these children. So providing the parents resources like a letter, letting them know what we're talking about and learning about in school so they can have those conversations around the dinner table. Also providing different activities that the students can do at home. So this is not just a school thing, right? This is an all the time thing. And I say that and I get chills because it's so important, right? This is something that we're living. We're not just learning it and, putting it away. We live this out every day through modeling. And so we're, right now this is our 2nd edition, but you can see the different topics that we covered. Diversity and this one is not. Diversity and inclusion, empathy and critical thinking, communication, problem solving, and peer relationships. The reason why I'm saying those, that's our 2nd edition material. In our 3rd edition of material, you're going to see some different topics here. So instead of diversity and inclusion, it's, being my best self. What does that look like and feel like? And so you're going to see with each of these lessons, there are 5 units. And there are five lessons that will accommodate each of these topics. They'll span about 45 minutes, so you need some time to get them done, but we have them broken down into 15-minute increments because I think that that's really the most doable way, to do the lessons, especially with the time constraints sometimes educators have. So, it's flexible, and you can use what you want. And there were times that, we may have been working with being my best self, but I was like, let's talk about communication today, all right? I've noticed a couple of things happening in this classroom where I think it would really benefit all of us to go back and look at this and talk about it, right? And take away the shame, because this is something that they're all learning, just like I'm still learning, right, as an adult, and giving them the opportunity and the tools, to really understand these important life skills that each and every one of them need. So I said I wasn't going to talk anymore, but I did want to share those lessons with you as well as you guys explore the portal. So do any of you have any questions about anything I've shared.
So y'all are connecting these lessons very closely with Castle?
Yes, yes. And we actually, I'm glad that you asked that because we have a Castle alignment guide that you can access on our portal so you can see how those align to the lessons.
Because when I look at those, I also think of how important those are to develop what employers are calling the soft skills.
Yes.
And that's what they're looking for. They can train someone, but they can't necessarily teach them the soft skills.
Yes.
And so by incorporating these in lessons with our students, we're going to be able to really be teaching them those life skills that they have to be marketable.
And planning happens early, right? It begins early development, right? And if we can start it then, it will be transformational.
Absolutely.
I really believe that to be true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There it is.
There's the Castle alignment guide that we have. Yeah, and so I really encourage you to go into harmonysel.org and explore, and see what works for you. We have, educators using it, organizations, counselors, social workers. There's, it really can be adapted and used in so many different environments. And, one other thing I will share is the training opportunities that we have. And so every single week we have live online trainings. So you can go to our training and advanced education hub. You'll see on-demand training, so you can access it right then and there. And I think that's actually really nice for if there is like maybe some turnover or something, and there's somebody who's trying to catch up. Providing them the opportunities with these modules to look over. With the everyday practices and lessons and activities. But then we also have someone live where they can join a training. Or if your school is interested in utilizing this program, we can come and train schools virtually. So I would love to be here in person. I'm from Arizona every day. But we definitely can provide virtual trainings for schools and districts as well.
Here's the calendar.
And this is our training calendar. So you'll see, it's broken down. It's really nice this month because we're launching 3rd edition. We're really highlighting each of the units. So you'll see this week being my best self is one of those units we're going to dig a little bit deeper and learn more about. But also focusing on those 2 components of, the everyday practices, the meetup and buddy up, and then another focus on the lessons and activities. So please, take advantage of that. It's a great resource in regards to training.
Is this a subscription? How does this work? I don't know if you mentioned it at the beginning, but I was a little tardy to the party.
No, it's fine. It's a great question. I'm so excited that you asked it because actually these resources come to you at no cost. Right after the session, you can go and you can sign up and register for the portal and you'll have full access.
That is fantastic.
I know. It's amazing. Yeah. Really, really nice. That it's available to educators in that way. So, along with that, if you go on, we've got Harmony, but we also have Inspire. So in developing, giving teachers the resources, we have 74 different modules, an SEL pathway, but then we also have, different components in Inspire that you guys can use, and even use as professional development hours. So.
Did you want me to share it all, or I don't know?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm getting caught up in my yeah. So come.
No,
So
yeah.
Yes, I would love to invite Shelly to come up, and she's going to talk a little bit about her experience with Harmony at the high school level. So thank you.
Thanks so much. I just want to say, when you asked that question, I had the same question. I actually met with Shannon and Elle actually around January or February last year, and my first question was like, how much does this cost? And they were like, it's free. I'm like, no, but really, how much does it cost? And they were like, it's free. I had to ask one more time because I was like, really? Like, you're giving me all this stuff? They're like, no, it's all free. And then I was like, okay, but then the curriculum, you have to follow this, this, and this. I'm at a high school. I don't teach 6th grade. And they're so, I don't know if you heard her, but she said flexible at least like 4 or 5 times. It is so flexible. Most times when you see a curriculum like this, it's very scripted, which for me as a counselor is very hard because I work with all levels. And so And then I'm a school counselor at Kailua High School, I work with peer educators. So I'm basically teaching students. I wanted to use this curriculum for my students to teach other peers. And they're like, yeah, you could totally do that. They weren't like, no, it's only for this grade. You know what I mean? Like it was just very, very open and I could use it anyway. And then I was like, how about can we go to Inspire? Because that's kind of where most of our teachers, because we're at the high school level, have been kind of using the Inspire. And what happened was I got a grant for basically promoting SEL. And what I found is the easiest thing, well, the hardest thing for teachers is we're so busy, right? We don't have any time. So the fact that this is all free and it's all online, how can I interest teachers in like doing this? So with our grants, I've actually using Inspire. They can use Harmony as well. But the Inspire ones, can you go to the SEL one, the SEL units? Those are the units that most of our teachers at our high school, so we have 30 teachers that finished over 5.
That right down here.
Yeah. So they did maybe 5 of these little component pathways. And can you guys guess, like, which ones they're most interested in, maybe? Maybe scroll down a little bit. So some of them were like, which modules inspired them the most? So there was backwards planning, giving clear directions, lesson closure, creating classroom rules, helping students believe they can achieve, building relationships, be the spark, helping students want to achieve, teaching students empathy, or creating classroom rules. Any of those sound interesting to you as a teacher?
Yeah, I would think building relationships.
Yeah. So the top one was help students want to achieve. So we got 38% for that. Be the spark and nurture inspiration, 33%. Helping students believe they can achieve was 28%. And then building relationships with students was 19%. So it was still pretty high up, but not, as exciting as teachers, we want to see them be successful, right? And then creating classroom rules was kind of on the bottom, but still 19%, so pretty high. But we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the teachers, so they are getting a $500 incentive, and Aikahi is going to be a part of this as well, so I'll be coming to your school soon. I just came to basically Kailua High School. We've had about 30 teachers and EAs complete the training for the $500 stipend. But we've had teachers that they buy into it and they're like, I want to do more, they get a little taste of it. And just like me, I'm like, what? It's free? What? It's just amazing. And then the fact of the matter that you guys also have university credits, the national university, is really, really cool. So I've talked with our principal at Kailua High School. I'm thinking that Kyoki at Aikahi will be okay with it, but I know Joe LeBoy at Kailua Intermediate is okay with these national university credits. Every teacher can get up, I think, to 12.
9 credits.
Oh, 9 credits
Yes,
for free?
for free.
So those could be actually accredited and go towards movement, as long as your principal approves them. So if you want to move up for step movement. So it is good, not only are you doing this for fun, but you can also have some step movement as well. So it's just amazing. I really like it.
Thank you so much for sharing.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate it, Shelly.
Yeah.
It's so nice to hear the real life experiences. I will say too, you can get really creative with Inspire and create tracks, for your community that makes sense. So, as you're looking at what are the ones that really resonated with my staff members, come up with maybe 5 different modules that, this is where we want to develop this year. And then create even cohorts, learning cohorts, where they're watching those, and then we get together and we talk about it, we reflect on it. Maybe even create some action items of what to do next, right? So, it's a holistic approach, right? We've got the practice for the students and the materials that we can provide them, but we also have to take care of the educators, right? And make sure that they're not only getting the knowledge, the information that they need, but they're also provided the compassion and the time to understand it themselves. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sitting in on my Q&A and for putting up with me kind of jumping around, but I appreciate all of you and look forward to hopefully working with you in the future. So thank you.